Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm continuing to answer questions about OCD recovery that you asked below Ask a Question About OCD Recovery video. First question is, after you experience OCD for 4 years, you don't feel the pleasure of life anymore, and the thoughts and the things that you used to enjoy no longer have meaning. And, I've had OCD, and I can tell you that, yes, what you're saying is exactly true, but you can look at it in two ways. You can say, everything is so bad, it's all over, I'm never gonna recover, you know. And if you put your hands down and don't do the work, you will make that come true. Yes, you will not recover if you don't do the work. So if you say you can't and you won't try, then you won't. And by try, I don't mean like, well, I tried to do a few exposures. That's not trying. Devote few hours a day to doing exposures and really push yourself with doing exposures. If it's a physical compulsions, if it's mental compulsion, if it's mental like rumination, then as the thoughts come in, disregard and push those thoughts in on purpose. Like, okay, yeah, I can think of this too, and I'm just going to choose to disregard it now when I think about it. Really push yourself with this, because you can't say that, well, if I had it for 4 years and I haven't recovered, then that means I will never recover. Because you can have it for 4 years, you can have it for 20 years. If you've never done the recovery work and really took the recovery work seriously, like, I've had enough, I'm gonna just do this, and really track how much compulsions you're doing, how much rumination you're doing, how much reassurance behaviors you're doing, and reduce them. Always reduce, delay and reduce. Like, you don't have to say, well, I'm just never going to do another compulsion again, because that might be too hard, right? But if you say, well, I'm just going to delay it for as long as I possibly can, then I will record the time that I actually were able to hold off until, and now I'm going to try again, and this time I'm going to try to make it longer and make it like a game for yourself. You will see how fast you will start to recover, but it has to be an attitude change where, you can't feel bad for yourself in the situation, because that's what's going to keep you down. So you have to have a proactive approach. Even when you're kind of feeling beat down like this, you still have to have a proactive approach. Next question is, Hallie, do you have any patients that have SO, significant other, OCD, HOCD, they're in successful marriages? I really would like to get married someday, but fear that this disorder will prevent me from having a successful marriage. Also, please do a whole video on this. I'm sure many people suffer from this OCD. So this OCD is quite common, and it's obvious that if you have relationship OCD, it will impact your relationships. So again, going back to the previous question, that if you don't take care of it, it will get worse, and it will hurt your marriage. You know what I mean? Like, in all honesty, right? If you are having relationship issues, how can it possibly, like relationship fears, how can it possibly not impact the relationship? You'll be distant, or you'll be asking for reassurance all the time, or whatever, depending on the situation, right? Or you'll be unsure about things, or whatever, right? So this is a problem. You need to take care of it. You need to do recovery work, and I would say, in terms of if you are in a situation where you are taking a huge leap in relationships, at the same time as having relationship OCD, then you need to just work on it even more. So make recovery your priority. And you can bring, depending on how your partner feels about the situation, they might actually be able to help you. The one thing that they shouldn't do is they shouldn't give you reassurance. In terms of your thoughts that you're having when you have relationship OCD, I wouldn't go too deep trying to explain to your partner your thoughts, because first of all, that's confessing, which is a compulsive action. Second of all, you always have to remember that your partner does not have OCD. They don't understand how you really feel. And if you say something, it will be very, very difficult for you to unsay it. Because if you said something because of OCD, because you thought something in the moment, but how are you going to unsay it? So I would think twice before really bringing the other person into it. But in terms of relationships impacting marriages, relationship OCD impacting marriages, yes, it absolutely does, and you need to recover. You know, because like the way you're asking a question is, well, I have OCD, I will never get rid of it, so will it impact it? And I'm saying to you, you want to say, I have this temporary problem that I need to take care of before I get married, because it sounds like you still have time, right? So you're not getting married like tomorrow, right? So use this time to get rid of it. Next question is, hi Ali, I've been doing recovery work for 3.5 months and my anxiety level has gone down to 2 or 3 out of 10 at the most. So, so thank you for the help. Okay, so you can see that this stuff works, you know. A person went all the way down to 2 or 3, you know. So again, to the people asking previous questions, right, that it's just changing the attitude and saying, okay, I need to be proactive, I need to do it, I'm going to devote an hour a day to do active exposures. And when I'm in accidental exposure, then I'm going to really push through and really disregard. You need to take it seriously, you know. It's like a lot of the times people kind of confuse suffering with recovery work. Well, I'm suffering all day, Ali, but it's not the same thing. You know what I mean? Yes, you're suffering, but suffering and doing compulsions makes OCD worse. How much actual recovery work are you doing each day? And you have to be writing it down or saying it to somebody that, okay, today I did this amount of recovery work. You know, this is something you can share with people around you. You don't have to share the exact thoughts, but how much time did you do? And being accountable, it really, really helps. Anyways, back to the question. However, the thought is still there, although it doesn't cause me much anxiety. I've been doing ERP. My OCD has to do more with real life events, by the way. I'm still showing fear to, am I still showing fear to the thought, or is it just a matter of time before it goes away? Because sometimes I'm so sick of the thought being there, that I do and then cut it off. I'm not sure what happened with the question got cut off, but I understand what you're saying. So, two things. First of all, when you get to 2 or 3 out of 10 in OCD recovery, when you get to this last stage of OCD recovery, this is kind of, if we took a very rough stone and we got the shape all worked out and everything, and now, like, of the, say this, if we're making a statue, let's say, right? So we got the shape, we got everything, but now we're just polishing it. Okay, so it's these little nuances throughout the day where, you know, maybe in this situation I am showing a little bit of fear, or maybe in that situation I'm showing a little bit of fear. And I do a lot of work with clients on in this last stage, just going over very small details and seeing if is there anywhere that the person is showing fear to their regular OCD thoughts, or maybe it's another thing coming in altogether. But usually it's their same thoughts, but there's just like it's just very small things, and in those small things they show fear, they do some sort of a small compulsion, and that kind of keeps the OCD on life support. So you need to analyze, not obsessively, but analyze very carefully of where you're going wrong, in little ways. In big ways, you're done. You're doing really well. But in little ways, there's got to be things that you're doing to power it up and keep it on life support. Now, what you're saying here in the last sentence, but I'm so sick of the thought being there. So maybe this is exactly where you're doing it. Is I just want the thought to be gone. I don't want to have this thought anymore. I hate this thought. It's almost kind of like you're saying to your brain, like, it's vital for the thought to go away. I'm so scared of it. I don't like it. I need it to go. You're showing urgent. It's not like fear, but you're showing urgency. And when you're showing urgency, the brain's like, oh, okay, well, you don't like it, but I have to make sure that you're safe, so I'll just send it to you, you know? And then you start to be afraid of the thought itself. You know what I mean? Like trying to, well, why are the thoughts coming back? Well, what does it mean that the thoughts are coming back? Well, it means that you're pushing them away, so that's why they're coming back. You want to be kind of neutral, saying, I don't care if the thoughts are there. They're silly thoughts. I don't care. They're there. They're not there. You know, is there life on Mars? Is there not life on Mars? I don't care. You know, kind of like that kind of attitude is what you need to have with it. Next question is, but actually, by the way, you're doing really, really well, with this, and you're on the right track. If you were able to get from, I'm assuming, I don't know what number you started at. Most people started about, I would say, 8 out of 10, at least, if not 10 out of 10. But even if you started at 6 and you knocked it down to 2 or 3, let's say, it's huge, right? So you're definitely doing the right things. It's just there's probably just a few details that you're missing. Um, can you please cover contamination OCD and intrusive thoughts and false memory associated with it? I have contamination OCD associated with a specific phobia. I would appreciate it. So, contamination OCD is very uncomplicated. Basically, whatever it tells you, you're doing the opposite. So, it tells you you have to double check, you have to rewash, you have to do things a certain way. And you just have to say, I don't care, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. In terms of the phobia, if you want to deal with the phobia, I would say start looking at pictures of whatever your phobia is, and you can make the pictures um, kind of start with something that's not really about the phobia, but kind of, and kind of prepare yourself for more of like facing the phobia head on, and then maybe watching videos of, like, you know what I mean, like something like that, right? So um, pushing yourself into kind of like, okay, I'm choosing not to be scared anymore, whatever. Yeah, everything is contaminated, everything's going to be bad, I'm still disregarding, I'm still pushing forward with it. I'm doing this now. And it's again, it comes down to the change of mind, right? Where I'm choosing different because I know what I've been doing is not really working. So it's when you start to do that actively all the time, and again, especially with this kind of stuff like contamination OCD, do exposures an hour a day of just do it. Like, it tells you, like, oh, you can't touch this, just for 5 minutes touch that. Tells you you can't do that, for 5 minutes do that, and devote an hour a day to that. You will see huge progress. I think you just need to do more exposures. You'll be fine. Contamination OCD is not very complicated OCD when it comes to the recovery process. So next question is, I play a game called Roblox and people say bad words. I'm only 10, so now all I think about is bad stuff. I hope this works. How can I get rid of the thoughts permanently? I've been here for only 18 minutes and you have a new sub. Well, I'm glad to have you here. So in terms of the thoughts, right, I'm sorry that you're so young and you have to deal with OCD, and it's difficult for adults and it's even more difficult for children, right? You have to look at it this way, that your brain functions like a computer. So your brain gets a lot of thoughts every day, right? I know it's kind of, I'm just trying to explain it a little more, kind of like, so you can understand, right? So your brain gets a lot of thoughts a day. 50,000 thoughts, they say, ish. So how does the brain sort these thoughts? It doesn't know how to sort them. It doesn't have, the ability to sort through all those thoughts. It's looking to you, to the thinking part, right? Because this is the mechanical part. It's looking to you, the thinking part, to tell it what to do. Is this thought scary? Is this thought not scary? What do I do with it? And if you tell it that this thought is very scary and I need to protect myself from it, the brain will say, okay, I'll put a little flag on it, right? And then I'll send it back to you all the time, because you're saying if it's scary, so I need to protect you from what's scary. So I'll make sure to remind you of this all the time. So what you need to say is, I don't care about this. It doesn't matter. I'm moving on. So in terms of the game Roblox, and actually my daughter plays Roblox as well. If people say bad words, doesn't matter. I don't care. Don't avoid playing Roblox because of it, because the more you avoid things, the worse they become. The more scarier they become, right? So you want to say, okay, I can play Roblox. Who cares what they say? It has nothing to do with me. I'm disregarding. I'm not going to pay attention to it. That's them. It has nothing to do with me. Kind of imagine yourself almost in like a little bubble, right? What's happening outside the bubble, that's none of my concern. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not a bad person, because a lot of the times OCD goes, what does this mean? Am I a bad person? I'm not a bad person. I'm just choosing to disregard, you know? And then you're making that choice and you're pushing forward with that choice. And whatever OCD tells you, whatever, I don't care, you know? Try to do that all the time. Don't get scared by these thoughts. Your brain doesn't even know what thoughts it's sending you. It's sending you to them on autopilot. It doesn't understand like what the thought is about, the content of the thought. It doesn't get it. It just looks at it like a computer kind of creates a picture for you. The computer itself doesn't know what the picture is. It's looking at it in code. But to you, you see a picture. That's how the brain is looking at it. It just creates these scary scenarios for you, you know? And I know everybody says the thoughts feel so real, but they feel real, but they're still false. That's just how OCD is. Everybody says the same thing, but it feels so real. It feels real, but it's OCD. And you gotta hold strong. I know it's a lot to face at 10 years old, but you have to hold strong. You can do this. You can push through this. You just have to do the work. Next question is, hey Ali, thank you for your videos. I've been doing the recovery work since 5 days now, and my thoughts have been switching up like crazy, but I'm feeling better. That's exactly what I was saying before, right? That the thoughts start to switch a lot because your brain is trying to find at least something to grab onto. I've been struggling with false memory, like someone committed suicide because of me, but I know it's false. Now my thoughts are like, I've killed someone and ate them. Is that normal in OCD recovery? Absolutely normal. Just false memory, just grabbing onto more and more outrageous themes. I'm sure it will come up with something else. You just have to say, whatever silly OCD thought. Yeah, sure. Maybe I didn't eat just one person. Maybe I ate the whole neighborhood. Who knows? So you just kind of make it. The more outrageous you make it, the better. And next question is, can you please talk about magical thinking, OCD, and curses? Please, my family member, yeah, could really use this. So, in terms of the magical thinking, OCD, with magical thinking, you have to look at it this way: the more you pay attention to any OCD thought, the more it grows. So they have to go against what OCD is telling them in order to start the recovery process, So it's, again, 1 hour a day. So, I'm going to say, walk under a ladder all the time, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or like, and they don't have to kind of go that far right away because that might be extreme to them. But say if they have some sort of a mild compulsion, start with that and start reducing. But it has to be active work, That's all the questions for today. I will be back with more questions tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I talk about all things related to OCD recovery. If you would like to do one-on-one recovery program with me, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.